I sat on the weathered cedar porch of my old cabin in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains this morning, watching the thick white mist slowly peel away from the dark green hemlocks and towering red oaks like a soft gray veil being lifted by invisible hands. The air was sharp with the scent of pine resin, damp earth after last night's light rain, and the faint wood smoke drifting from the stone chimney behind me. A pair of mourning doves cooed softly from the power line that sags across the yard. Their gentle, repetitive call has been the same soundtrack for nearly 40 years. It struck me then, as clear and sudden as the first ray of pale winter sun breaking through the clouds. I am 82 years old. The house behind me, built by hand in 1972 with lumber I hauled myself from the sawmill down in Asheville, is now almost entirely silent. Once it rang with life, the thunder of small feet racing down the narrow pine hallway, my late wife Clara's cast-iron skillet banging against the old gas stove as she fried bacon and eggs on Sunday mornings, the low, easy rumble of my brother Tom's laughter during marathon pinochle games that stretched past midnight. Clara would bring out her famous blackberry cobbler, berries she'd picked herself from the thorny patch behind the barn, and we'd sit around the scarred oak table until the kerosene lamps burned low. Those nights felt endless. Now the rooms echo only with my own footsteps, the occasional pop of the wood stove settling, and the distant bark of a neighbor's dog 2 ridges over. But this quiet is no longer mere emptiness. It has become a vast, living archive. Every creak in the wide plank floorboards remembers a child's barefoot run. Every faded shadow on the beadboard wall recalls a silhouette that once moved through the rooms with purpose and hurry. Over 8 decades, I've seen the world remake itself in ways that still astonish me. I was born in 1943 on a hard-scrabble tobacco farm outside Durham, North Carolina. Red clay soil that stained everything it touched. Mule-drawn plows giving way to my father's first John Deere tractor in 1952. Horses and buggies were still common when I was small. By the time I enlisted in the Army at 19, jets roared overhead. I've watched black and white television sets shrink to glowing pocket rectangles. Small mountain towns get bypassed by interstates. Family farms sold off to developers who built subdivisions with names like Whispering Pines Estates that have neither pines nor whispers. Yet what cuts deepest is not the changing scenery. It's the slow, relentless departure of the people who anchored my days and gave them shape. My parents went first. Daddy died of a heart attack in 1976 while still in the fields at 62. Mama followed 2 years later from pneumonia she caught sitting up nights with him after his first spell. They left behind that tobacco farm, which the bank repossessed in '81 after a string of bad seasons and rising costs. My younger sister Ellie, always the firecracker of the family, with freckles across her nose and a laugh that carried across the yard, fought lung cancer for 3 brutal years before slipping away at 58 in 2001. She'd smoked since she was 14, hiding cigarettes in the barn rafters. I used to tease her about it, never dreaming it would take her so young. My closest friend since we were knee-high, Harlan Jenkins, went suddenly in the fall of '98. We were splitting firewood behind his place. He swung the maul, clutched his chest mid-stroke, and was gone before the log hit the ground. I held his hand until the ambulance arrived. Too late. And Clara, my Clara. I met her at the Mecklenburg County Fair in Charlotte in the summer of 1961. She was 18, wearing a butter-yellow sundress that fluttered in the warm breeze, her dark hair tied back with a red ribbon. She was laughing at me because I couldn't knock over the milk bottles to win her a teddy bear, no matter how many baseballs I threw. I spent my last dollar trying, then sheepishly offered to buy her cotton candy instead. We walked the midway until the lights came on, sharing stories under strings of bare bulbs. 6 months later, we were married in a little Baptist church with peeling white paint, her carrying a bouquet of wildflowers she'd picked that morning. We had 3 miscarriages in those early years, each one a quiet grief we carried together without many words. I drove long-haul trucks for a decade to keep us afloat, coming home bone-tired to find her waiting on the porch steps with coffee and that same crooked smile. We finally bought this cabin in '72, poured every spare dime into it. New roof, wider porch, the stone fireplace she always wanted. She gardened until her hands couldn't grip the trowel anymore. Roses, tomatoes, those blackberries, and we spent countless evenings here, planning a future that seemed to stretch forever. 4 winters ago, she simply didn't wake up. I found her hand still warm in mine at dawn, the last of them all. Now I am the final, fraying thread in a tapestry that has mostly unraveled. At this age, you become a kind of gentle, half-invisible witness in a world that rushes forward without looking back. The young ones speed past in their quiet electric cars, earbuds in, eyes on screens, worrying over promotions, student loans, social media metrics, things that from this porch look like grains of sand shifting in the wind. They glance at me sometimes with curiosity, sometimes with pity, as if outliving almost everyone you love is a misfortune instead of a strange, hard-won privilege. "What's it like to be that old?" a delivery boy asked me last week, voice soft. Or they simply avert their eyes. But there is a quiet secret that only reveals itself when almost everything has been stripped away. When the scaffolding collapses, what remains is not nothing. It is the essential truth of a life. If you're younger than me, lean in close. If you're traveling this same road, pull your chair up beside mine on this sun-warmed cedar. Let me tell you about the few things that truly endure. First, we never truly own anything or anyone. In my 40s and 50s, I built with everything I had. A steady job as a mechanic at the lumber mill. Then my own one-bay garage where locals brought their pickups and tractors because Jim can fix anything. This cabin, the reputation for honesty and fair prices. I guarded it all like it was permanent. At 82, these spotted arthritic hands that once tore down and rebuilt V8 engines, cradled our daughter hours after she was born, hold nothing. The garage sold to a chain in 2005. The cabin will pass to my grandson Ethan when the time comes. My name fades from old invoices and yellowed business cards. What lingers is the character shaped in the trying. The patience with a frustrated farmer whose combine wouldn't start. The decision to work through the night for free when a young family couldn't pay. The quiet integrity that no auctioneer can sell. The people we love arrive on loan, never as property. Clara was never mine. We were temporary stewards of each other's finite hours. When I stopped clutching and began simply receiving, her off-key humming while she weeded, the way she'd slip her cold feet under my leg, in bed on winter nights, the crooked smile that appeared even when she was exhausted, the goodbye, when it came, transformed. It became less robbery and more profound gratitude for the decades we shared. What remains is the love given freely and without tally or expectation. That alone never rusts, never fades, never appears on an estate sale list priced to move. When young, we fixate on the grand markers, our wedding under that massive live oak by the river, the day I hung the Jim's Auto Repair sign, the week we finally drove to the Outer Banks, after 30 years of saving quarters in a mason jar. We lived for the peaks, but life was the long valleys between, shelling peas together on these porch steps while fireflies rose like lanterns from the meadow, kissing Clara's forehead at 4 a.m. before another long haul, watching our daughter chase those same fireflies with a jar and a hole-punched lid. If I could go back, I wouldn't chase bigger summits. I'd practice deeper presence. I'd sit longer with the steam curling from a chipped mug of black coffee. I'd listen, really listen, to the creek behind the house, murmuring over stones it has smoothed for centuries. What endures is an accumulation of small, seemingly insignificant beauties that, in the end, reveal themselves as the whole meaning of a life. Solitude arrived like a stern teacher I had avoided for decades. My generation filled every hour: work, church suppers, kids' ball games, volunteer fire department. When the children moved out, when friends stopped driving the winding road up here, when the phone went weeks without ringing, I was left with a stranger, myself. At first the silence felt punishing, but knees that ache with every step, hips that protest getting out of the rocker, force stillness. In that stillness, I met the man beneath the rolls, the one who had tried his best, failed often, loved anyway. I forgave the hot-tempered 25-year-old who yelled when he should have listened. I forgave the 50-year-old who missed too many suppers chasing overtime. What remains is this inner sanctuary. If you haven't befriended your own soul by the time the house empties, age becomes exile. If you have, it becomes the truest home you've ever known. I am enough. That quiet peace is perhaps the greatest gift these years have granted. Of course there are regrets. Only a saint or a liar claims none. I regret the moonlit nights I stayed silent instead of telling Clara how the sight of her still stole my breath. I regret sharp words flung in anger to people now gone. But the deepest wound is remorse. The moments I chose being right over being kind. We burned so much life defending pride, winning arguments. Time erases. As I cross more names from my faded address book, each stroke of the pen a small funeral, I see clearly being right is the loneliest victory imaginable. Kindness was always the wiser, warmer path. If someone still answers your call today, mother, brother, childhood friend, reach out. Not to settle scores, but to say simply, I'm glad you're still here with me. One day the line will stay quiet, and the old grievance will weigh nothing at all. There is an unexpected grace in watching the world hurry on without you. At first, the sight of teenagers lost in screens, speaking in rapid slang I barely catch, sparked a flicker of bitterness. I felt discarded, irrelevant. Then understanding came. This is the proper order. My time as the center has passed. Now I'm the quiet witness. In my grandson Ethan's quick, lopsided grin, I see my father's dry humor. In his restless energy, I see my own younger self. I am one small, sturdy knot in an immense, continuing weave. There is profound relief in releasing the need to be central or celebrated. What remains is the gentle joy of seeing life renew itself, knowing a fragment of my story, my love, my mistakes, my small victories, lives on, threaded into theirs. So what truly endures when the porch is empty and the echoes grow still. A fierce, almost aching gratitude for the sheer improbability of having existed at all, for every clumsy, beautiful attempt at love, for the roughly 30,000 mornings I opened my eyes to mist and birdsong and possibility. I'm 82 now, and the darkness holds no fear. The light never truly departs. It simply steps into the next room, where new voices are already laughing, planning, loving. If these words reach you before you arrive on this porch, don't wait decades to seek what remains. Begin today. It is in this very breath, in the face across the table, in the small kindness waiting to be chosen. Thank you for sitting here with me a while. The mist has lifted. The sun is warm on these old hands, and the doves are still calling. If this stirred something in you, share it with someone whose presence still lights your days. And if the spirit moves you, leave a comment below. What is one small, ordinary thing you have learned to truly cherish as time has passed? I read every word. It makes the quiet feel less solitary, more like company.